You know how a lot of languages have those vowels with the two dots on top? What are those? The answer is more complicated than you might think. In many languages, these are called umlauts, which is when you take a vowel and modify its sound, typically pronouncing it farther forward in the mouth. In German, for example, there's U versus Ü, O versus Ö, A versus Ä. So where does the umlaut come from? Well, it all goes back to the Latin script, which has 5-ish vowels. Now that's fine for Latin, but most Germanic languages have more vowel sounds than that. So how are they supposed to spell their language in the Latin script? The answer is digraphs, which is when two different characters represent a single sound, like in the English words soup and meat, for example. 2 letters, 1 vowel sound. So a bunch of languages started spelling individual sounds with 2 different letters, like which sounded like a mix between O and E. And so in Middle German, it was spelled OE, and this is still seen today in some historical spellings. From here, there were 2 different developments. Sometimes the 2 letters would fuse into one, forming ligatures, which are used in a number of different languages. In fact, sometimes we see this in English, but it's considered kind of archaic. But sometimes, in order to save space on the paper, medieval scribes would take the second vowel and put it on top of the first vowel. In fact, if you've ever seen a language that uses over-rings, that's how those developed. Vowel plus O was changed to vowel with O on top, was changed to vowel with over-ring. So the German OE, for example, was written O with an E on top. But over time, as this was written more and more with quick handwriting, the E was being written looser and looser, until eventually it just became 2 dots. Yeah, that's the origin of umlaut. It's just a sloppily written E. Similar story with the tilde, by the way. Some languages would turn letter plus N into letter with N on top, and if this was written quickly enough, it just looked like a little squiggle. But here's where things get tricky. Right now, you might be under the assumption that anytime you see 2 dots above a vowel, that's an umlaut. But that's not true. The word umlaut specifically refers to when a vowel with 1 sound develops a new sound entirely when you put 2 dots above it. But that's not the case in the word naive. The I in naive makes the exact same sound as the I in ski, for example. That's not a new sound at all. In this context, this is called a dieresis. Remember earlier when we talked about digraphs, 2 different letters making a single sound? Well, this is kind of the opposite of that. Whenever you have 2 different vowels, you can use a dieresis to say that this is not a digraph. It's 2 letters making 2 distinct sounds. For example, the word toe has a digraph, 2 different letters making a single vowel sound. But the word Zoe does not have a digraph. The 2 vowels each make their own sound, which is why sometimes you'll see the name Zoe spelled with a dieresis. This is pretty rare in English, but you still see it sometimes. It's not naive, it's naive. It's not reinter, it's re-enter. It's not cooperate, it's cooperate. The origin of the dieresis goes all the way back to ancient Greece, and it has nothing to do with umlaut. It's a complete coincidence that 2 separate linguistic phenomena are both marked with 2 dots above a vowel.